Hi, my name is Wendy Brown, and I'm a professional organizer and the owner of Seeking Sanity. And in today's reality check, I want to take a minute and talk about letting go. There's a lot of reasons why letting go is hard for people. Today, specifically, I want to focus on the feelings of being wasteful. Because I think that's something that most of us can relate to, right? We're going through things to clean and organize, and we come across something that's been hanging around for a while that we're just not using. And yet, when we're faced with that decision, does it stay or does it go? We're really hesitant to make the choice of letting it go because it feels wasteful, right? There's reasons for that. Most of the time, the reason is because the item is still useful, usable. Sometimes it's because the item costs a fair amount of money, right? And to just send it on its way is a waste of money. For some people, the shoulds get in the way. Oh, it's here, I have it, I should be using it. There's no reason why I shouldn't. Other people have, unfinished intentions, whether it's a craft or a hobby or some other project, right? They went and they gathered up supplies and things to do something, and for whatever reason, that never came to fruition and they never finished. So here they are stuck with all of these supplies. I can think of a sewing project that I had tucked away for years because I went out and spent a good amount of money on some fabric and I was going to make some clothes. And I just was not ready to let go of the fact that I was going to do that, right? It's that hope that I'm going to actually accomplish the project that gets in the way. Now, the reality is there's usually reasons that we're not using these things, right? And it's not just that we have failed on some level to use them. So I want to talk about that for a minute. Some of the reasons that we're not using these items is that the big one of the really big ones, and one that kind of came into play with my sewing project, right, is that the item no longer fits you somehow. It doesn't fit your lifestyle, it doesn't fit your personality, it doesn't fit your taste. My sewing project hung on for so long that the clothing item I was going to make just wasn't in style anymore. And I wouldn't have worn it even if I would have made it. Somebody could have taken that fabric and made something else out of it, right? But that feeling of, oh, I was going to do this, I should follow through, still hung on, even for me. Other times, things don't work as expected. You'll buy something and you'll go to use it, and it's not what you thought it was going to be, right? And so now, it doesn't quite fit the need, and so it doesn't get used. Another reason that I see all the time is simply volume related, right? Just so much. A lot of times I see this in office supplies, craft supplies, gift wrap, things like that. We just accumulate so much. Maybe there was a screaming sale, and so we bought all this stuff um, thinking that we'll use it over time. But if we hit a few screaming sales, we're going to end up with a pile of stuff that it's just no logical way we're going to use that all in a reasonable amount of time, right? So we've got really good reasons why they're just hanging around. It's not that we have a shortcoming somehow, right? So there's two parts to addressing this. And the first part, the most important part, is I want you to give yourself some grace. Nobody's perfect. And, life happens. So maybe you did spend some money on something. If that's the case and you just really can't get over that financial hump, maybe look at selling the item as opposed to just giving it away. Projects that are undone, things that you think you should use because they're there, but they just don't jive with you for some reason, that's okay. You don't have to use them just because they're there. You don't have to finish the project just because you started it. Let's concentrate on staying focused in the now instead of beating ourselves up for what happened in the past, right? So give yourself some grace there. Step number 2, the second part to this equation, is a perspective shift. So I'd like to introduce the idea that everything has an expiration date. When you think expiration date, you think things like medicine or perishable food, sometimes maybe toiletries or something like that. But I want to throw out the idea that literally everything has an expiration date. And to prove that point, let's talk about a few things that I see expired on a regular basis when I go into clients' homes. One of the most surprising ones, the first time I came across it, was plastic grocery bags. Now, plastic is plastic, and we just figure plastic lives forever, right? Plastic grocery bags, while the teeny little particles may live forever, the bag in its entirety, not so much. And they kind of just literally disintegrate into staticky, awful little pieces that are terrible to clean up, right? Rubber bands aren't something you'd think about expiring necessarily, but they do get dry and brittle, and then they're not stretchy and they don't work anymore. Even paper, right, has an expiration date. Over time, paper will start to yellow and become discolored. And items made of something as sturdy as metal will have an expiration date. If they've got bearings or things like that in them, those things need to be or stay greased. Rust attacks metal. And so over time, some things taking longer than others, everything starts to deteriorate. It starts to expire. And so taking that perspective, I want to kind of plant a seed in your mind that you can ask yourself as you're going through your things and trying to decide what's going to stay and what's going to go. And when you get that twinge of guilt and feel like you're being wasteful, maybe you can ask yourself, what's more wasteful? For me to let this item go now and either sell it or donate it to someone who can get some use out of it during its usable life, or to keep it tucked away on a shelf, in a box, in a closet, collecting dust until time takes care of the decision for me and it just slowly becomes unusable and I have to throw it out in the trash. That's kind of a different perspective than I think a lot of us have taken with these items, but it's the reality of the situation. So I hope that gives you a little bit of food for thought when you're going through and making your decisions about what goes and what stays. And it will help you let go of some of the things from the past so that you can open up and make space and make room for the future and the things in the now and be more present in your life. Until next time.